Airbnb just took one step closer to becoming a public company by filing their S-1 report. Now, this S-1 is really crucial for the investors because we finally get to have a closer look at Airbnb's financial statements and how well they've been performing and how healthy their balance sheet looks. So today, I just want to chat with all of you about this IPO, and I'll give you my thoughts about this company and if I'm as excited about this IPO as I am with the firm. Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name is Matt, and as I mentioned in the intro, today we're going to be taking a look at Airbnb's IPO and just kind of talking it over. Now before we do that, not advice, don't take it as advice, speak to a financial advisor. They're able to help. This is just for your entertainment purposes only. If you like this video, find value out of it, all that fun stuff, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button for me. And we are super close to 400 subscribers, which is beyond exciting for me. So hopefully, I'm hoping that we'll be there maybe for Thanksgiving. We'll break the 400 mark, but if you haven't subscribed already, if you want to help me achieve that goal, that would be awesome of you. Now, I should mention that I've already made a video going over this IPO a few months ago, but since then, a few of my thoughts have changed, and I've thought more and more about this company and their advantage. If you want to see that video, I'll try to do that cool thing with like an iCard that pops up there, but if not, I'll link it below as well. Now, also, I should mention that I'm going to try to hit on different points than what I did in my previous video, just because we do have some new information. So let's talk about what we do know about this IPO so far. First off, they're hoping to receive around a $30 billion valuation as a public company, and from going public, they're hoping to raise $3 billion. They'll be trading under the symbol ABNB, and we don't know exactly when they'll hit the public markets. That's still up in the air, but it should be, hopefully, I've heard as early as December. I'm probably going to err on the side of safety and say it'll be more like January of next year. So I think the best way for me to go through this video is just to talk about what I like about this company, as well as what I don't like and what I see for their opportunities, and then finish it off with what I'm buying. But I guess it depends. We'll flip a coin here to see if we'll talk about the good news or bad news first. And I'll flip a coin. Tails is good news, we'll just say. Well, regardless with that said, I wrote the script for it to be more of a good first, then we'll talk about the cons. So let's start off with talking about what I do like about Airbnb as an investment. So I think one big opportunity coming out of this whole situation we find ourselves in for Airbnb is similarly to housing, or how people are in apartments looking to go to single family homes. I think most people are going to feel safer staying in some place like an Airbnb, where you have your own residence to yourself, as opposed to going to hotels where you have to share elevators or hallways or staircases and have people passing by your room at all times. And even once this is all said and done, current situations, I don't think people are necessarily going to be, running back to stores, not washing their hands, or going on cruise boats immediately, or anything like that. So I think we did have a kind of a mental change that might be here for a few more years, where people are going to be a little bit more concerned about cleanliness and just distances from other people, at least for a little bit. And I think that's going to be something that gives Airbnb an advantage, because that's an opportunity that places like Marriott or Hilton just cannot take advantage of right now. So that should be a very good point for Airbnb. As I mentioned in the last video, but still something I think is definitely worth noting, is that Airbnb is actually the largest hotel chain by number of doors, meaning they have more rooms or vacancy available than any other hotel chain out there, which again just means that they have a large footprint to attract people traveling to many different destinations. I also like that they don't have the same capital expenditures that a hotel would have. So if the Airbnb you're renting out needs a new roof, that's on the person that owns the unit itself, not on Airbnb, which should be something to help out their balance sheet a lot, because those capital expenditures are what can really start to eat away at your profits. And so removing that from their balance sheet, again, just should help them become a little bit more financially healthy. And they also offer a very unique experience, again, something that not every hotel can provide for you. On Airbnb, you can stay in places like castles or even tiny houses, or just some very unique looking properties where, a hotel is what you see is what you get. They change the paint, they change the colors, and sometimes have different experiences, but it's not like you can go to the Marriott and choose that I'm going to stay in this tiny home or this castle. You're kind of stuck with the rooms that you're provided. But let's now talk about some of the concerns that I have with Airbnb and what might not make this as attractive of an investment to have. And the first one has to do with they can't control where the people that list their properties on Airbnb do all of their advertising. So just because you have a listing on Airbnb doesn't mean you couldn't also post on places like VRBO, Craigslist, or even start your own website for people to direct bookly through you and avoid paying Airbnb's booking fee. And keep in mind, a lot of people that do own multiple units for Airbnb are investors, and they treat this like a business. So they're going to look to build up their own brand to the best of their ability. And if given the opportunity, I know investors would actually rather book directly through like a site of their own than having to pay that booking fee. So I think that could be something that is going to hurt Airbnb potentially in the long run. The next one, and probably my biggest issue with the company, is government issues. Because not every state or city allow for people to rent out their properties as short-term rentals. Some major cities in the US that don't allow it are cities like Las Vegas, New York City, and Los Angeles, where they don't allow for you to rent out properties if it's not your primary residence, and even some of those cities require for you to be present while somebody else is staying in your home. So anything with a government issue, as many of you know that have seen my channel, is not something that I like to invest in because I just don't like when the government has to make rules that can ultimately influence the success of your company. This is something that we just saw Uber and Lyft battle for a very long time. Fortunately, it worked out for them in the long run, but had that, I think it was Prop 28 or something along those lines, had that not worked out for Uber or Lyft, they could have been in huge trouble, and Lyft might have not even survived if that didn't work out for them. So that's a risk that is just hard for me to get past when it comes to investing in Airbnb. My next issue has to do with the amount they spend on advertising. In 2019, they spent over $1 billion in advertising. Now, if the reasoning behind that is because if they spend more on advertising, maybe they feel that'll prevent people or drive less traffic to sites like Craigslist or VRBO, but that is still a lot of money to spend on advertising, and I personally believe that they don't have to spend that much on advertising because, again, the people that invest in Airbnb properties are business people. So they'll already be out there running ads to help boost traffic to their Airbnb or networking, or will really handle a lot of the promoting for Airbnb. So I don't think they really need to be spending over $1 billion trying to get their name out there, when really, again, the success is in the people that own these properties anyway. Also, in the S1, I had to take a look at their risk factors, and I'll be the first to admit that when you look at an S1's risk factors, it's very similar to trying to diagnose your sore throat from WebMD, because you'll immediately go to the worst case scenario, and that is always true when I look at these factors for the S1. That said, the very first risk factor that came up is just something that is going to be very hard for me to get past. The very first risk factor that they show on their S1 says, "We've incurred net losses each year since inception, and we may not be able to achieve profitability." Now, again, if you've been following my channel for a little bit, you know that I always am looking for profitable companies because it just makes more sense to me as an investment. Not all the time do they need to be profitable, but seeing that they may not be able to achieve profitability is a scary statement for me to see. Now, again, that might just be one of those overpromise, or underpromise and overdeliver kind of thing where they're saying we might not ever be profitable, but I just have a hard time getting past that because there's always a way to become profitable. And if you're not going to become profitable, then in my personal opinion, if you plan on never becoming profitable, you are either not taking steps in the right direction to really improve that balance sheet, whether it be reducing costs or looking for additional sources of revenue, or you just have a failed business model. And neither one of those are good things for me to see. So, maybe a con or maybe a silver lining here, and I hate to say this as much as I love their founders, is maybe when they go public, they'll have to do a revamp of the management teams to help make this company more profitable. But for the time being, seeing statements like this is definitely something of concern to me. But with that said, I do have a few areas of opportunity that I feel Airbnb might be able to capitalize on to help make them a more profitable or better cash flowing company. And I should mention here too that I have absolutely no doubts that people will continue using Airbnb. I've even heard that people that have been locked up in their house for a while have even turned to Airbnb just as a way to get a little bit of a change of scenery and get out of their house for a while. So I do believe that people will, regardless what happens in the future, will continue to use this service. And I'm aware too, they have made some strategic business acquisitions in the past, But my problem with it is most of them was really just to acquire more and more properties. It wasn't really to produce an additional source of revenue. And you can't make the argument, yes, that buying additional properties should in theory increase the revenue, but they're paying a hefty fee for these properties. And I just think that there might be some more alternative ways, or they can maybe think outside the box to help create revenue, and that's what I want to give a few examples of here. So I think that maybe they should consider either buying the payment processing system that they use, or creating their own proprietary payment processing system, because that will again allow for them to either keep that service fee or not have to pay it, which should help them kind of retain more cash. As I mentioned too, there's a lot of investors in this space, and there's actually a lot of companies coming out with new technology that helps investors or people that own these properties run them more efficiently. An example of that would be there's like a new lock system that you can get where anytime somebody checks in or out of your Airbnb, you can change the code from your phone. So that way people don't have the same code. Once their time is up, you can lock them out basically. And I think it would be smart for Airbnb to buy out one of those companies, because that is something that can help the business owner run their operation more efficiently. And again, just provide a source of revenue back to Airbnb that doesn't relate directly to the bookings. Maybe the last way that I can think of that they can use as an opportunity would be to partner with what we might call like a service provider. And what I mean by that is, I have a friend that ran an Airbnb business for a while. I think he even still owns most of those properties. And he said one of the hardest things is, we're in Charlotte. When he would invest in places like Charleston, South Carolina, he would have to go to Charleston, South Carolina, meet up with somebody that can do the room cleaning when somebody checks out, somebody that can do the electric if there's an issue with that, or somebody that can do the plumbing when you get that infamous, broken toilet at 3 a.m. story. And that is a very time-consuming and costly process. I think that there could be an opportunity here for Airbnb to work with these service providers, so the service providers can maybe post their ads on the site, allowing for hosts to see, the ratings of these service providers and be able to find somebody that they can trust based on other Airbnb host reviews without the need of actually having to physically go to that location and spend the time, money, and effort to source those kind of services. And again, in exchange for that, they can receive a little bit of commission or like a commission charge for somebody booking it through that. And again, it's just a way for them to make money without being so dependent on these bookings. So what does this all boil down to? Is this a stock that I'm interested in? And I hate to say it, because the more I look into this, the less excited I am about this stock. I'm not saying it's going to be completely off my radar, but I will say a lot needs to change for this company to look more attractive to me as an investment. For the time being, this is one that I'm going to hold off on, but I absolutely see where people are optimistic or bullish on this position. But there's just a few changes that would need to happen, or a lot of stuff would need to be resolved with the government before I make my final decision. But with all that said, I'm going to wrap up here. So I'd love to know all of your thoughts about this stock. So leave a comment below if this is one that is on your radar, one that you're excited to add to your portfolio, or if you think there's any points that I missed or maybe something else that should take into consideration to have this look more attractive to me as an investment. And also, as always, please leave a stock below that you'd like for me to take a look at. I always enjoy reviewing the companies you suggest for me. And if you like this video, I hope you hit the like button. And again, I only need like 6 of you, I think it is, to subscribe so I can break my goal of 400 before the end of this week. So once we break that 400 subscribers, probably not much is going to change, but I'll be very appreciative, and I'm still very appreciative of all of you that are still subscribed to my channel. So thank you to all of you who support my channel and just leave such positive feedbacks, comments, and have such great discussions with me in the comment section. But again, we're going to stop here. So I will see you again for Watchlist Wednesday, but thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. You could be anywhere in the world and you're right here with me, and I really appreciate that. I'll let you go ahead and enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.